the Rangers asked my agent if I was interested. As soon as I kind of made it official and asked them to release me, they asked me if I was interested in coaching or managing it someday, and I said, I mean, I'd be lying again. I'd be lying if I said no, but it's not going to be anytime soon. So
okay,
we'll see.
Is there a time? Is there a time frame to where, all right, then I probably never will? I mean, I know you want to soak up family time, and I that's cool, especially time with me on Thursdays and Fridays. You got to make sure you're a part of that.
Family time.
Yes, family and friends time. But I mean, is there an amount of time that you have to jump back in, or then it really is over?
I don't know. That's a phenomenal question. I would assume there is a shelf life in terms of, I guess, being relevant enough for people to care if you're in their organization or not. What I really would like to do in the shortest of terms, I guess, would be if there would be any sort of like, you see ex-players all the time at spring training and stuff. They're special assistants to the GM, right? That's their title. And if they go to spring training, they hit an affiliate here or there throughout the season and kind of watch and give their opinion on players and where the organization's at. And they live at home and they live their retired life basically, but they also have input into an organization. And so that would be something I think in the nearest of terms that I would be interested in rather than coaching. But the coaching managing thing is definitely something that I'm interested in. I don't know when.
Well, it just seemed like Stephen Vogt, for example, with the Guardians was done with playing, and then 5 minutes later, I think he was managing, wasn't he? I mean, the timetable was very short for him.
Yeah, he had a skyrocket type ascent to managing. I think he was a bullpen coach for a year and then was a manager the following year. So, I mean, it would be for me personally at this moment, it would have to be a situation that I just couldn't say no to, that I would jump at an opportunity like that.
I'm thinking about your former teams right now. Francona and Cincy, he's going to be there for a minute. Who else you got? Council in Chicago is going to be there for a minute, right? And who's in Detroit?
AJ Hinch, he's going to be there for a minute.
He's
going to
be there for a minute too. So maybe it is the 8-year-old Bulls, Indiana Bulls.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go worry about winning some 8-year-old games for a while.
Yeah, well, it'd be great because I don't know if I've ever consistently had a Major League Baseball manager on this show, but I know you would be it. Especially, I think the good training ground, the proving ground, would be coming out with us and having drinks and cocktails and beers on Thursdays and Fridays. So.
I agree, and then being able to hold my liquor and talk on the radio too.
Yes.
It'd be good. It's just perseverance.
You're going to learn from the best with that in mind.
I can't wait.
Right. Hey, by the way, did you go to Game 7?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. That's why that happened then. Okay, well done.
We played the longest game of all time, naturally, on Sunday in Oklahoma City. And we didn't, if I would have gotten to the game, it would have been probably mid-second quarter. So it didn't make any sense to go. I watched all that go down in the clubhouse after the game and was bummed.
Bummed is a word. There's no doubt about that. All right, so later on this month, O'Reilly's downtown, Taylor's Pub at Greenbrier. Those are a couple of our live shows, and I am expecting some participation. And now you can start your kind of summer training on like me, being able to drink and then talk on the air at the same time. Okay.
Perfect. I'm in.
All right, buddy.
I'm in.
Hey, congratulations, you, Sierra, and the family. Stay in touch with me. I know that you will, but we'd love to have you out as much as you want to come out.
I appreciate you, man. I will, and I'll see you soon.
You got it, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tucker.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Tucker Barnhart of the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, plus JMV takeover request. He is big on winger. Miles away, I think, was his request by winger. That is winger, right, or Warren? Is Miles away Warren or winger? Headed for a heartbreak is winger. Did I just mix up my hairbands?
Miles away looks like is by winger.
Winger, I was right. I knew it. Uncle Tom's Cabin would be Warrant, I think. It's a good song, too, right there. Quick break. We'll come back. Mike Chappell at the top of the hour. Dick Mittman passed away. I want to get the reflection and the perspective of somebody that would know Mike Chappell. And, of course, we had Ritchie a little bit earlier. We also lost Don Hine earlier today, the legend at the age of 85 from Channel 13 WTHR. We'll discuss that and more and some sports stuff even beyond the reflection on those two personalities in sports around here with Mike. Top of the hour, the Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day as well. Quick break. Back with you next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
JMV.
I am the cream, yeah. The cream of the crop. And there is no one that does it better.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, thank you for joining us. A busy show. Tucker Barnhart just with us. 10 years. Retired Major League Baseball player to spend more time with this show on the road. Tucker Barnhart, the podcast, 1075thefan.com. Ritchie McKay, the head coach of Liberty. His former player, Talon Peter, is a second-round selection by the Pacers. We talked that and a lot more with the Liberty head coach. That was awesome. And Shaka Smart, head coach at Marquette, regarding Cam Jones, also on the show yesterday. Today, along with Rich Nye of Channel 13, because we certainly are recognizing, celebrating, and reflecting upon a great career and an incredible impact of Don Hine, who passed away earlier today at the age of 85. Now, Dick Mittman, also legendary in terms of print, in sports. We'll talk to Mike Chappell about that and his influences coming up here, along with Don Hine in the 5 o'clock hour. But a couple of incredible losses in the world of local sports in the past 24 hours. Now, on a national scale, apparently found dead earlier today at his Malibu home at the age of 67. And I am a tremendous fan of Michael Madsen. I think older brother of Virginia Madsen, the actress, but Michael Madsen, he has had a tremendous career as an actor, probably most noted as being a part of Quentin Tarantino written and directed films. From Reservoir Dogs in 1992 to Kill Bill. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood had a role there too. Michael Madsen, Donnie Brasco, that's not a Tarantino film, but certainly he was great in that. Michael Madsen passed away today at the age of 67. I think easily most noted was his role in Reservoir Dogs, and especially his role as K-Billy, Super Sounds of the 70s played. James, you can re-enter to this if you want to at some point. Did you already do that? Stuck in the Middle with you, didn't you?
I
did that
yeah.
earlier, yeah. Steelers Will. From 1974. I think 73, 74 for Steelers Will and Stuck in the Middle for you. But, yeah, most noted for that particular scene in the film Reservoir Dogs, Michael Madsen was 67. And an incredible impact. Quick break. We'll come back. Mike Chappell is going to join us on the other side. We'll talk about local impacts in sports of a couple of losses that I mentioned previously as well. Mike Chappell on that and a lot more coming up after 5. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
With JMV.
Here's Johnny. Don't. David Letterman.
Hi, David. I'm Grandpa.
Don't.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Thank you for joining us, James, over there. I'm John. Shaka Smart, Marquette head coach, earlier. Liberty head coach, Ritchie McKay, earlier. Tucker Barnhart, moments ago. Rich Nye, earlier in the show. Podcast, 1075thefan.com. I did want to give a shout-out because he just got back with me. Brooks Barnheiser was introduced as a second-round selection by the champion Oklahoma City Thunder. Brooks, I think, is going to join us early next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday. Former Lafayette Jeff, Northwestern standout, friend of this show. Brooks Barnheiser, congratulations. Shout out to Mark Sion of the Big Green Egg, who says, I am smoking a, pork shoulder on the Big Green Egg. Well, I hang at the pool in my JMV hat. That is wonderful. Speaking of that, Mark, we are smoking brisket coming up later on tonight on the Big Green Egg to get ready for the weekend. Shout out to Mark and the Big Green Egg. Whatever you're doing, wherever you're going, however you're celebrating, here's hoping you have some time off and you spend that time off in whatever fashion you want for enjoyment, because by God, you deserve it. You deserve it. We all deserve it. You're ready to have some fun. Mike Chappell in just a second, because James, it happens every week. We have phone foobar. James is dealing with phone line foobar right now here, which is cool. The call-in show, it's always necessary to be able to utilize the phone, which is outstanding, which we have right now. And joining us, did he have to call us? Did he have to call us right there?
He called us and it didn't work, so I called him again, and then it worked.
Okay, now it works.
Yeah.
So, we just wished upon a star, and boom, there it is. Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. This day has brought with us a lot of sorrow, considering a couple of legendary sports figures in this market that we have known over decades very well that have passed on.
Yeah, and these are times that makes me realize how old I'm getting, because I work with these guys.
Yeah.
Dick Mittman. Now, he was at the News for a long time, and he and Robin were sort of the guys early on with the racing, and then Heiner, good night. I mean, he was just for so long he was the anchor and the guy, and whether he's wearing his IU sweatshirt covering a game, just great guys. And again, it just sort of brings to mind that you're sort of on the backstretch of things, because I go through the time that with guys we've lost in our star group, the David Benners and Zach Duncans and all those guys. It just sort of kind of gives you a little jolt.
Yeah, it does. And, we were discussing Dick Mittman and his impact here, and you mentioned our friend Robin Miller, the late Robin Miller, those guys, and then Don Hine. It's incredible, and that's why I think it's so important, because there's probably some out there that may not know, may not have ever seen, read, or heard, but the impact that these two had on sports here locally for decades is certainly worth talking about on a day like today.
Yeah, it's funny. It's not one of our guys in our chat group that we have, the Old Star guys, and anyone who was around racing and knew Dick Mittman, he was just sort of unique. I mean, Robin had his way, but Dick Mittman, some of us joking that, today St. Peter's having to answer some, hey St. Peter, what about AJ Foyt? It's just the way Dick was, and he had that. Everyone's got their own style. And Dick did. I think after the News, I think he went to work for IMS. I'm not sure. I thought he did. But again, those of us who've been around a long time, everybody sort of has their niche. And certainly Don Hine did. I didn't know Don well, but anytime I was around him, we got along well, and just a very, very enjoyable personable to be around. And again, I probably knew Don more than I knew Dick Metman, but again, it shows you kind of the depth of quality that we've had in Central Indiana, and we just have. I was talking with someone the other day and about Bob Lovell, and he's still doing a lot of stuff. I was talking with Greg Rexstraw, and he was talking about Bob Lovell, and Bob and I are about the same age, and when I was doing stuff, Bob's still with us. I'm not, going in that, but how guys that you've grown up with through the years in Central Indiana media, that you just get close to in a sort of fraternity. And when you lose somebody like Metman and Heiner, it just sort of, again, you just sort of reflect on how nice it was when they were here and the good jobs that they did. And you sorry they're gone.
So Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You brought up the Indianapolis News, and there's probably a segment of the audience that has no recollection about it. Explain the differences in the day between what everybody knows as certainly the Star today compared to when you had both the News and the Star, one in the afternoon and one in the morning.
Yeah, the Star was the morning paper, the News in the afternoon, and I don't remember when they merged. I really don't, because anything non-Colts, my brain is mush. But no, they had separate staffs. It was competitive. And again, they did things on their time frame. We did things on ours, but we still got along with them. There was a competitive edge to what they did with the Bob Collins and Wayne Fusen and Robin and all the people on our staff, which I still say we had a tremendous staff with Robin and Bill and David Benner and all those guys. But yeah, it was just different. It was just, one of these days there probably won't be a Star. I mean a print edition. A lot of papers, a lot of cities have gone to only online, and I'm kind of glad to see the Star sticking around. And again, I'm talking print edition the way they have, because there's got to be a place for that. But the way you see things transpiring and disintegrating from two papers to one paper to sometimes no paper print that you have in your hands. I'm one of those old time guys, and I just like to have a paper in my hands, and it's stupid, and I realize that. But yeah, it's totally different. Back in the day, we had two papers and certainly no online. We actually had deadlines to where if you missed your midnight deadline, your story didn't make the paper. So it's totally different. Things evolve, but part of me at times misses the old time way of doing things and how we did it, because it worked and it was a quality product. And you just see it chipping away when we lose people, and you're losing friends and colleagues, but boy, you're losing the experience that they had and that they shared. So again, that's where you get a little sentimental, but it just reminds you that, Father Time's unbeaten, and all of us have an expiration date.
I guess speaking of losing too, at a different level, much less of a level, because we're talking about two great humans that we knew for decades around here. Mike Chappell's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, but back to the, I guess, consequences of sports. We all followed the Pacers. This was my favorite team of all time around here, right. And to watch things from basically that Game 7 from the 7-minute mark in the first quarter to where it is now, it's almost like the Pacer fans had to take a penalty or be punished for that level of success, because I know some feel that way right now with the results that have taken place now almost 2 weeks later.
When Halliburton is laying on the floor, pounding the floor, no, and he knew he knew the Achilles blew. He just did. Players know. But boy, it also signaled a change. And again, it's not my lane, and I don't know the backstories, and I don't know the luxury tax, and there's an apron to the luxury tax, and it's the end of the season. I don't understand that stuff. But I do believe that when Halliburton went down, which means almost certainly he misses next year, I just think it changed the dynamics on Miles Turner returning. I just do. I just think if Halliburton's back, they make the necessary moves to keep Turner. Forget the crappy finals, he had, and it wasn't very good. It wasn't good enough, put it that way. I have to believe if Halliburton stays healthy, win or lose, who knows? I think they might have won with him on the floor. He was en route to a 40-point game. It had that feeling, but it just seemed like it changed, and they've gone from one of the favorites to win the East to a team that's going to have to work their butts off to make the playoffs. And had he stayed healthy, had he been healthy now, I just think it would have changed everything. I think I heard, maybe it was on Kevin's show, where Carlisle said that maintaining Miles Turner was a priority. And I have to believe if they would have been in a different roster situation, they would have followed through on that priority. And when that didn't happen, I just think it changed things. And I've got no knowledge internally because I'm not wired there, but just from the outside looking in, that looks like what might have happened.
Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So are we officially now, or does it take place after July the 4th, counting the days to the start of Colts camp? July the 23rd.
I've been counting the days. July 22nd report date.
Right.
23rd first practice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really good about taking time off and doing absolutely nothing. I really am. But that's got an expiration date too. And after about 3 weeks, I'm ready to get back going. It's been a very quiet off season. I mean, in terms of the roster, the only news being with Anthony Richardson's shoulder. And I saw someone in Florida talk to him, and he said he's going to be ready for training camp. We'll see what that means, because Shane Steichen said that when he's back, when he's cleared to throw, they'll ease him in. So what I'm going to be interested in is, does he throw a full day on a Monday, and then does he take Tuesday off, back throw on Wednesday? What does easing in mean? And I don't think easing in is a good idea. It's not a good idea. It's not ideal at all, because there's a competition, and every day that he's eased in is another day that Daniel Jones establishes himself. So hopefully that Richardson will have been cleared to throw, let's say next week. So where maybe that's an easing in period where he's throwing every other day or whatever. I would hate to think that they get there and he's cleared to throw let's say July 25th. And then the easing, and hopefully he's cleared to throw before then. We won't know that probably. But every day that Richardson is not full speed, full go in camp, it's going to increase the uncertainty, and it's going to further Daniel Jones' bid to be the opening day starter.
Hey, Mike, in obviously a complete lack of ideal circumstances, is there a path that you think is ideal to see from Richardson in training camp here? You kind of mentioned, and hoping what he's going to be able to do and how he'll be able to perform, at least to be out there to perform. But is there an ideal factor that you think in what is this so-called quarterback's race in training camp?
Yeah, for Richardson, it's to be ready to throw, if not the first day or two, I mean consistently, but to be out there early to where there's not a pitch count, that he's throwing and performing well. I mean, it's one, step one is to be able to throw regularly. Step two is to play the position the way it's got to be played. Whatever they decide that their evaluations are going to be, it's going to be hard to have a couple of bad days. If Jones is playing well, it's going to be hard for either one of them to have a bad day or two or three and stay ahead if that's where we're at on who's one and who's two. So, no, ideally for Richardson, what he's got to do is first be cleared to throw. Two, be able to throw early in camp on a regular basis and not be being eased into where we're asking Shane Steichen after practice, well, he didn't throw much today. What's up? Well, he's going to throw more tomorrow. He throws more tomorrow, and then the next day as well, we had to back off a little bit. That's not even remotely ideal for anybody. So my hope is that, again, he will be in a place where early in camp, the first week of camp, to where he's for the most part throwing with the rest of the quarterbacks, and there's no obvious pitch count on what he does in camp, because they're only up there 13 days practice. So it's not like they got a long camp like in the past they've had. I'm talking like a decade ago. So, before you know it, they're going to be playing a game. Before you know it, another game. And before you know it, September's here. So it's really a condensed time for now this open competition to take place. And if one of these guys is, for whatever reason, remember how Carson Wentz broke a bone in his foot and he's out for a while? It's just going to be hard for that guy, whoever that is, to have that injury or a sore arm or whatever you want to call it, and maintain, the open competition where it needs to be. So Richardson, be healthy, throw the ball regularly, and throw it well. That's kind of like the three steps.
So I'm assuming now, at the very least, there's not going to be competition for my tent space in the afternoon with a Zaire Franklin podcast anymore. That's good.
Yeah, I want to see how that thing plays out. I've not followed.
If you were Zaire
much.
Franklin at this point, would you kind of just minimize any time that you might be in social media?
I would. I understand him wanting to reach out to the fan base, and that's really admirable. But the problem is, and if he does it, it needs to be football related.
And they jumped all over him last week regarding that comment about the Titans. I'm assuming you saw that, right? The sweep of the Titans a year ago.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
What did he say now? See, that's the problem.
Well, it was something like somebody made a comment to him, and his retort was, well, we swept the Titans, last year, and then obviously the Titans were the worst team of the NFL, and that just there's really nothing he can say in social media that's going to save him from a lot of the fan base. So I would save it from social media and just go out and play at this point if I were him.
I know the one thing the team, if you talk to Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen, the one thing they want is no distractions. None. And that's a distraction. It just is. Now, whether he has to answer to it or Shane Steichen would have to answer to it, you don't want that. But then I understand the player or players wanting to reach out to the fan base and sort of solidify your brand.
Sure.
But it's so hard to do that because everything you say, this was a little more direct, but it's out there. You can't say, well, this, and then the worst thing to do is to sort of backpedal and try to explain what you were saying. It's best just to not do it, but that's a decision he's got to make, and it's his career and it's his brand, and Zaire will do what Zaire needs to do, wants to do.
Yeah, and he is not doing it because he was trying to brand that podcast, and I remember at one of was it the practice last year with the Cardinals where he had Marvin Harrison Jr. I think on his podcast in that tent with us. As it was pouring down rain, I think, on that particular day, but it just kind of seems like right now the best tack that he can take is just concentrate on being the best of your ability at Colts linebacker and not jack around with the rest of the stuff.
Don't be a distraction, even if you think it's trivial or whatever. Just report, do your job, lay low, and let the season play out. This is going to be a different season anyway, with everything on the line. I'm not saying playoffs or bust, but there's going to be scrutiny primarily with the quarterback and all that. So just let the season play out and sort of keep your head down. That's the best way of doing it.
So do you enjoy more the fireworks, I'm assuming, that are in Beech Grove, or the fireworks that from house to house people are letting off in Beech Grove?
Man, they've been putting these suckers off for a couple of days, and I'm thinking, and they'll go on for another week. It's like, well, we got some more. Beech Grove does a great job, and we'll sit on my front porch and watch them tonight, but they just go on forever. And you just, okay, if I were 25 years old, I'd probably doing the same thing, but enough already, okay?
Yeah, Man, there's a lot of money spent on fireworks individually.
Sure it is. Yep.
So do you have anything land like the fireworks, because they explode and it's got to land someplace? Does anything land on your house?
From Beach Grove, they do these. I mean, it's a great show. They do a great job. And the next day I'll go out in my backyard. I'll have those canisters. Cardboard canisters. I'm thinking, holy crap! It's like a missile. But they got to go. Whatever goes up's got to come down. If it doesn't burn up. So that's kind of cool.
Are the
stay away from my car?
Are the Beach Grove fireworks tonight officially?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll sit on my front porch. I had a tree cleared, so we got a good view. And they do a great job. But just I don't like the canisters in my backyard or landing on my car.
Yeah. Well, and enjoy tonight and enjoy a long weekend with those letting off fireworks in Beach Grove around you.
Look forward to it. Yep.
All right. Hey, have a great holiday weekend. We'll catch up with you again next week.
You too. You guys be well.
It's Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. James, I know we have somebody that knows Dick Mittman. You want to do that now or you want to wait?
We can do that now.
You want to do 239-1070 is the number. That was Mike Chappell right there on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Kevin wanted to add a little bit of knowledge with the late Dick Mittman. Hello, Kevin. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Great, Kevin. Go ahead.
Well, I just, I really wanted to pass along my condolences to Don Hine and the Mittman family. I did know Dick Mittman. He was really good friends with my dad. I was good friends with his son, and I just recall Dick taking us to games and taking us to the track all the time, getting to meet guys like A.J. Foyt and hanging out with Robin Miller. And I'm glad that you guys brought up their memory today, because they really are legends in this town, and need to hear. People need to hear about these guys.
They do. They do. And, we live in a world right now with the younger generation that, like our generation, when we were growing up, there was something about the younger generation we didn't know a great deal either. So I think it's always good to enlighten and educate and tell stories on days like today. Certainly those that had such a profound impact on the area as they both did.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Dick, and I think, like you mentioned about him and the questions he would ask, he was hard hitting with his questions, but I think, I remember, and it's been so long, I'm not going to get the stories right, so I'm not going to try to tell them exactly, but the guys he was friends with guys like A.J. Foyt and Bobby Knight, because these guys respected him.
Right.
And the questions, and when things, I remember stories of, it was like when they came out in the news or on TV, it was like, well, that isn't exactly the story Dick told us. It was like, so these guys respected when it was off the record. It was off the record with them. They didn't try to twist it or do any kind of weird thing. It was just, these guys were just professionals. They were great.
Kevin, thank you very much. You have a great weekend. And again, thank you for sharing.
Yep. You guys take care. Thank you.
Quick break. We'll come back. I know Mike is on hold. He's got a Heiner story. We'll certainly get to Mike coming up on the other side. Stream the app, HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge. Make sure you become a AAA member today. Now is the time. You get great deals at Ruoff for concerts, Symphony on the Prairie with the Indians, and, of course, they've got you back on the roads when you're going on that summertime vacation or maybe an extended vacation for this weekend. Become a AAA member with my friends Matt and Matt. Do that today. Quick break. We'll come back with you to close out the show. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
music.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hopefully you have in line one fantastic, I mean incredible, long weekend with the 4th of July coming up tomorrow. And the boss, Vegas and the Fever tonight at 7 o'clock. That is a Prime Video experience. Fever coming off a Commissioner's Cup victory over Minnesota a couple of nights ago, sharing the likes of $500,000 on the team for winning that. And then the day after the next, you get the Aces of Vegas later on tonight. Gainbridge Fieldhouse tip time, 7 o'clock. When I mentioned, too, the district tab, great pregame primer, and then come back after the game. That's it right there. Aces and Fever tonight at 7 o'clock. You can hear it here on The Fan. If you're watching, you can locate it wherever that might be. Again, on Prime Video coming up later on tonight. Shaka Smart, Marquette head coach. We talked about Cam Jones, a second-rounder. Pacers with Shaka a little bit earlier. Podcast 1075thefan.com. Ritchie McKay, the head coach of Liberty. Taylor and Peter, we talked about that second-round selection by the Pacers with the head coach of the Flames of Liberty. We also had on the show Tucker Barnhart, who's retired after a 10-year career in Major League Baseball, to be more of a part of our Thursday and Friday on-location drinking shows. Tucker Barnhart, podcast 1075thefan.com. We talked to Mike Chappell a moment ago, and Rich Nye of Channel 13 WTHR. Significant passings we've had in terms of local sports legends. Don Hine, at the age of 85, Channel 13 WTHR. Dick Mittman. Also, we learned of his passing today as well. And we've had reflection and celebration of their impact career-wise in sports here over decades throughout the course of the afternoon. Mike is up next to share a story regarding the Heiner. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Good. Just hanging out here in New Pal. Don't go back to work till Tuesday, and the Czech liver light will probably be on by tomorrow.
You have, and you have the JMV takeover on Saturday night, Mike and Donna in New Pal, that you'll be ready to go.
I know. So back when I was 11 years old, I went to Crooked Creek Elementary, and I also played at Randsburg Little League, and I played for the Astros.
Yeah.
So my teacher, Karen Potter, had a connection with Joe Negro, that was a pitcher for the Astros.
Yes, famous knuckleballer back in the day, like his brother Phil.
I think his brother Phil was more of a knuckleballer than Joe was.
Did Joe not throw knuckleballs too?
I'm sure he threw everything because he was the second coming of trying to be Nolan Ryan. But anyway, my point with Don Hine, Sky Point, by the way, he found out about this, and Mrs. Potter made it happen. So he came out to our school, and I wore my uniform. Joe wore his, and Don interviewed both of us about, the baseball and this and that. And what I found very intriguing is about 3 months later, this was like the last week of May, 3 weeks later, 3 weeks or 3 months, I can't remember. Damn, I'm 55,
Sure
but he made a donation to our Little League. Don did. And Joe matched it. But the caring for the local sports at the time was second to none. Hell, it was hot out. It was one of the, if you remember back in the day, it was a field day, so we're out there doing stuff, and I'm in my jersey and whatnot. And Don was in his plaid coat. I mean, he was the epitome of professionalism.
Yes.
That I grew up around, living here all my life. So I just want to share that. I mean, he had a good heart. I'm sure he's in a better place. He's hanging out with, everybody else. He's probably having drinks right now, or whatever. So
I love the Heiner story, and the Joe Negro intertwined in that story is awesome right there too, because Joe Negro, as a member of the Astros, did have the pleasure. He's no longer with us either, of wearing the greatest uniform of all time.
And
those
that's
Astros
exactly what we
uniforms.
both had on that day. The
That's
old,
great.
the striped, multicolored with the star. Yeah, it was. And I think we had a license plate here that looked like that in Indiana, didn't we? At one time.
We was that. No, well,
it wasn't Amber Waves of Grain.
No,
It was
I know what you're talking about. It goes back. It was very 70s looking because it was the 1970s back then. But yeah, a lot of people would remember most recently the Amber Waves of Grain, I think, right?
Right. All right. Well, I appreciate you, brother, for taking my call. And we'll
You
talk
got it,
Saturday
Mike.
night.
We'll talk Saturday nights on the JMV Takeover. Yeah, Joe Niekro was a knuckleballer. Joe Niekro passed away in 2006. One-time All-Star for the Astros in 1979. He's an Astros Hall of Famer. Can you name, James, the team in which Joe Niekro was a part of a World Series championship? Okay, I'm going to give you the names of the teams, and we'll see if you can name. Ready?
Yep.
Over his career, Cubs, Padres, Tigers, Braves, Astros, Yankees, Twins.
I'm going to guess either the Astros or the Braves.
The Astros or the Braves would not be right. It would be the 1987 Minnesota Twins.
Oh, there you go.
I forgot he was on that team with Frank Viola and Gary Gaetti and Mark Herbeck and Dan Gladden. Chili Davis a part of that team. Man, that was some good stuff right there. Ken Herbeck, Gary Gaetti. Greg Gagne, I think, was the shortstop on that team. See, sparking some memories right there, which I love a great deal. Jay is next at 239-1070. Jay, welcome to the show.
What's up, John?
Hello, Jay. Go ahead.
Big fan, man.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
all the
brother.
hoop talk.
Thank you, brother. I love it. Been a great day today. Thank you for being a part of it. Go ahead.
First of all, I'm glad we dodged the bullet of old DeAndre Ayton.
No, I didn't want that either. I know a lot of people are, oh, well, how can you count on this and count on Isaiah Jackson and count on Thomas Bryant or Wiseman or Bradley? Well, I mean, you probably can't. But unless they're creative and find a way for somebody else, that is what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, we don't need that cancer. I was thinking, do you think when they made I know draft picks are wild cards, but do you think when they made that first round draft pick trade in the middle of the finals that they had any idea that Miles was going to be gone?
No, I think that they thought, you know, what happens if, I thought that was a savvy move, but no, I don't like we talked about. I think it's twofold here. I don't think they had any idea. It was probably first thought about at the 7-minute mark of the first quarter of Game 7 when Halliburton went down. I would guess. This is just me guessing here. And maybe you consider the type of finals productivity-wise that Miles was having offensively especially. But I would say the 7-minute mark of the first quarter in Game 7 against OKC on that Sunday night is, if they ever had a thought, maybe it was. But Bobby Marks brought up a great point yesterday, Jay, on the show from ESPN. He said, one, from what he had heard, that Miles and his team, his reps, did not give the Pacers an opportunity to counter, and that was true. The other aspect was with what Milwaukee did to hard target, clearly Miles was something that had never been done to that magnitude in the stretch and wave of Damian Lillard. Thus, there was no common ground or any past to recollect there. I think that situation sort of sideswiped everybody and even the Pacers as to, well, there's not a market out there. And then suddenly, because Milwaukee had targeted Miles, they created a market. Now, it may sound ridiculous, and it may go down in history as something very Browns and Deshaun Watson-esque, but Milwaukee was motivated by the guy that they wanted, and they created something that in the past we have seen stretch and waves before, but nothing of that magnitude, and that was kind of new to everybody. That was something that Bobby Marks explained to us yesterday that I thought was fairly profound.
I gotcha. I know he can't, as a rookie, bring half of what Miles can bring. I'm a big Danny Wolf fan, to where I wonder if they had that draft pick, a stretch 7-footer that can pass the ball in 2 or 3 years when Tyrese is healthy, if he could have fit in well with the Pacers team.
Yeah. Hey, Jay, thank you for the call. You have a fantastic holiday weekend, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, James, is this Reb on line 3?
Hello?
Is this Reb?
This is Reb, JMV. How you doing?
My goodness gracious. It's an honor, sir.
Oh, well, thank you for remembering.
Remembering? The voice alone. You've got to call more often with that voice because it makes your show sound like it's got some sense.
Well, your show always sounds like it makes sense because I only listen to sports talk, and all the years I spent in music and being a DJ, the only time I have my radio on is in my car, and the only thing I listen to is sports talk, and the only sports talk I listen to is JMV.
Man, Reb, that is awesome. You got to put that up. We got to make that some kind of promo or something right there. It's funny you bring that up, Reb, because your time with what you did with the Pacers, your time with, being just a legendary part of Indianapolis radio, you probably can kind of tell that I was tutored by Mark Patrick from both the music and the sports talk angle here a little bit.
Mark and I knew each other quite well.
Oh, Reb, I'm assuming you have stories on both Don Hine and Dick Mittman here.
That's what I called for because I just connected with my son, Kevin, and about 20 minutes ago, he called in and talked to you.
Yes.
And that's triggered me talking to him to call you because he was also talking to you because he happened to hear you talking about Dick Mittman. And my son knew the family, Dick Mittman and his family, very well as a young person and knew his kids really well. They were all in the same age group, the younger ones. So he told me he talked to you, and I said, well, I'm going to call and see if I can verify that he was talking to my son, Kevin.
Yes.
And what I found out, and this is really strange, I stumbled across Don Hine's passing this morning online. I don't even remember how I stumbled on it. And so I decided, you know what? Back in the day, Dick Mittman, Don Hine, myself, and Sam Graves used to meet once a month at Sam's in Fishers and had lunch together and reminisced about times. And so I looked up online. I said, is Dick Mittman still alive? And up comes his obituary that he died 2 days ago.
Wow.
I said, oh, my God, he was 92. And I hadn't talked to him in several years. And then I had just read that Don Hine had passed at age 85. And so I decided to call Sam Graves and tell Sam, did you know? Because we were all close friends and worked in the business together. And I looked up Sam. I called his number. It was disconnected. I looked him up, and it said he passed away in April of 2024 at age 78.
Wow.
Out of the four of us, my young years are the only one left. I'm 88.
I am so honored that you've called and that you've shared that story. Just absolutely legendary. Reb Porter, the former Pacers announcer, the former radio announcer, the legend around here, 88 years of age, and you sound as good as ever, Reb. You really
know
do.
Something? Yeah, I've got to comment on you saying that, and I'll tell you why. I have been talked with several people on the phone that I've known for years, and I went through some heart problems over the past 6 months that I'm fine with now, but I had to have a pacemaker put in, and that all went well. But everybody I talked to during those periods of time would say, you know what, you sound just like you did when you were on the radio. Like a lot of elderly people, their voices kind of start going. And they said, you sound just like you did when you were doing the Pacers. Your voice doesn't sound any different. And I said, well, my body is different, but fortunately my voice still apparently is working well. Well, a year ago in February, Dean Haviland, I'm sure you know that name.
Oh, yeah.
Dean, who was my boss when I was doing the PA with the Pacers, they invited me to be the VIP guest at a Pacer game a year and a half ago, not quite a year and a half ago. And I went down, went through all the routine, and I said, and we were talking about my old 2-minute warning. 2 minutes. And as a result, he said to me, would you like to do that tonight? So they set me up near the court and had me do the 2-minute warnings. I've been away from the Pacers for 15 years, and they had me do the 2-minute warnings, and I could hear myself coming back out of the speakers. I said to myself, you know what? I still got it.
You still absolutely have it. With that alone, Reb Porter, the legend, on the, I'm going to say the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, because you need to become a guest. You've got to call in more often. I absolutely enjoyed this. Thank you very much for thinking about us and calling in and sharing these stories and listening to this show. I could not be more thrilled that you do that,
But
Reb.
now you can go on the air every day and say, out there somewhere, Reb's listening to me.
Well, you and I, we've got to get some people together and go maybe to Workingman's Friend or something sometime soon, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. You let me know. Yeah, my number should be on your phone
I'll get,
in there with your man.
I'll have James get it right here, Reb.
Okay. It's a landline, so if you call, I don't text. I'm old-fashioned.
You got this. No problem. It's the great Reb Porter with us. Thank you for calling and listening, and let's stay in touch, okay?
Thank you very much. Really enjoyed talking with you.
That is awesome. That is a way to end a week with Reb Porter. I know that I'm incredibly over. Let's take a break and come back. I think we should just end the show right here. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
It's Jim Perry, now talk to him, damn it.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Everybody have a fantastic weekend. James, thank you very much for everything. Reb Porter ends the show, which is awesome. Have a great weekend.